He didn't order a wife. He ordered help. 9 lines in a newspaper. That was all it took. Work, shelter, cold winters, no promises, no love. But the woman who stepped off that train was not what he thought he had asked for. She didn't look scared, didn't look hopeful either. She looked like someone who had already survived worse. By nightfall, a storm sealed them inside his ranch. By midnight, the cattle started running. And by the time the wolves came down from the ridge, he realized something too late. This wasn't an arrangement anymore, because the woman he thought he had hired was already standing beside him in the dark, ready to fight for a life that wasn't hers yet. And if she stayed through that night, he wouldn't be able to let her leave. The advertisement had taken him less than 10 minutes to write. Ethan Cross folded the paper once, then again. 9 lines. 9 lines to explain a ranch, a winter, and the kind of life most people turned away from. No mention of loneliness. No mention of the silence. And definitely no mention of needing someone. He slid it across the post office counter without a second thought. That had been 6 weeks ago. Now he stood on the narrow platform of Red Hollow Station, watching steam rise from the train like something alive. The sky hung low, gray, heavy, the kind that warned you winter wasn't asking permission this year. Ethan adjusted his gloves slowly. He was a large man, built from work rather than comfort. Broad shoulders, hands marked by rope burns, cold seasons, and years of doing things alone. People in Red Hollow knew him. Not well, just enough. The man who fixed fences before anyone asked, who left before anyone could thank him, who hadn't sat at a table with company in longer than most could remember. 7 years on the Cross Ridge Ranch, 7 winters without a voice in the house but his own. The train door opened. Passengers stepped down, 1, then 2, then her. She didn't rush, didn't hesitate either. Asian, late 20s, dark hair pinned back beneath a worn traveling hat that the wind immediately tried to take. She caught it without breaking stride, like she had learned not to lose things twice. She carried a single bag, not heavy, not careless. Her eyes moved across the platform, taking everything in, not searching for comfort, assessing. Ethan stepped forward. "Miss Lynn Tran." She stopped, turned toward him. For a second, just one, they studied each other. No smile, no relief, just recognition. "Mr. Cross," she said. Her voice was steady, not soft, not hard. Controlled. Ethan reached for her bag. She let him take it. After a brief hesitation he noticed and didn't comment on. "The wagon's out front," he said. "Storm's turning. We should move." She nodded once. No questions, no small talk. They walked side by side through the thin edge of town, boots against frozen ground, wind slipping between buildings like it already owned them. The land opened the moment they left the last house behind. Wide, empty, cold. The kind of space that made most people feel smaller or exposed. Lynn didn't shrink from it. She watched it, carefully, like someone learning the shape of a place that might decide her future. "It's bigger than I expected," she said after a while. Ethan glanced at her. She wasn't looking at him, still watching the horizon. "You get used to it," he replied. "I don't think I want to." That made him look at her again. Not fully, just enough. Because people who said things like that usually meant something else beneath it. The Cross Ridge Ranch came into view as the light began to fade. A solid timber house set against a wide valley, Pine Ridge to the north, open grazing land stretching south. Not impressive, but unyielding. Built to last storms, not to impress strangers. Ethan showed her the house without ceremony. Kitchen, main room, the upstairs hall, the room at the end. Clean bed, folded blankets, a lamp he had lit himself. He didn't know why he said it. I made it ready. The words felt unnecessary the moment they left his mouth. Lynn stepped inside the room, looked around slowly, not judging, understanding. It faces east, she said. Gets morning light. She turned back to him, and for the first time, there was something different in her expression. Not quite a smile, but close. Thank you, she said. Not warm. The storm didn't arrive. It settled. Like something that had been waiting for the right moment, and finally found it. By midnight, the house was no longer quiet. The wind pressed against every wall, not in gusts, but in long, steady force, the kind that made wood remember it was once alive. Ethan woke before the sound fully reached him. Instinct, years of it, boots on, coat half buttoned, already moving. He hit the hallway at the same time she did. Lynn stood there with a lamp in one hand, coat thrown over her shoulders, hair loose now, caught in the dim light like something untamed. For a second, they just looked at each other. No surprise, just readiness. I heard them, she said. Ethan nodded once. He had too. Beneath the wind, something else. Low, rolling, wrong. The sound of cattle, not just restless, but afraid. Go back to your room, he said. I won't. No defiance, no heat, just a decision already made. Ethan didn't argue, didn't have time. He moved past her, grabbed his rifle from the hooks by the door, stepped outside. The cold hit like a blow, sharp, immediate. Snow moving sideways across the yard, fast enough to blur distance, thick enough to swallow sound. He heard her behind him, boots on wood, quick, steady. When he turned, she was already wrapping a scarf tight around her neck, gloves pulled on with efficient, practiced hands. You'll need more than one pair of hands, she said. You know that. He did. So he turned and started toward the south pasture. No more discussion, no more lines between them. Caleb was already there, lantern swinging in the dark, his posture stiff with pain but still moving. Something's driving them, he shouted over the wind. Been circling for 10 minutes. Ethan scanned the tree line. Nothing. Just darkness between pines and snow cutting visibility down to nothing. But the cattle, they had already bunched, pressed inward. Instinct. Fear. They knew something was out there, even if the eye couldn't catch it yet. Then, movement. Low. Fast. 2 pale points of light. Then 2 more. Wolves, Ethan said. He felt Lynn behind his shoulder, still. Not frozen. Focused. The shapes moved along the edge of the trees, not rushing, not reckless. Patient. Testing. Waiting for weakness. Ethan fired once into the air. The sound cracked across the valley. The shapes scattered, then stopped again, deeper in the dark. Still there, still watching. They won't leave, Caleb muttered. Ethan nodded. He knew. Storm like this drove them down from the ridge, hungry, desperate, willing to wait longer than men. Open the holding gate, Ethan shouted. We move them now! Caleb hesitated half a second, then moved, slow but moving. What followed wasn't clean, wasn't controlled. Into direction. 60 head of cattle, blizzard, darkness, and wolves just outside the edge of sight. Ethan took the lead flank, pushing, guiding, forcing movement through fear. but it was Lynn on the far side who kept the herd from breaking. She moved through the snow without panic, no sudden motion, no shouting, just steady presence. Her lamp held high, a fixed point in the storm. The cattle responded, even in fear, even in noise. They followed that steadiness. Ethan saw it, didn't comment. But he noticed. Every time she cut them off before they turned. Every time she held the line without needing to be told. Time stopped meaning anything. Only movement. Only direction. Only survival. By the time the last animal pushed through the gate, the snow was already past their boots. The wind worse. The world reduced to white and sound. Caleb slammed the gate shut, dropped the latch. Done. For now. Ethan turned. Lynn stood near the fence line, one hand braced against the post, breathing hard, hair damp with melted snow, clinging to her face, but still holding the lamp, still standing, still not saying a word about it. He walked over, stopped just short. "You've worked cattle before?" She nodded once. "Small farm, Missouri. Nothing like this." Ethan looked at her a moment longer. Then, "You held your ground." Not praise, not softened. Recognition. She met his eyes, that same almost smile again. Someone had to. Behind them, Caleb groaned slightly, trying to straighten his back. Ethan didn't miss it. "House," he said firmly, "to both of you. Now." They didn't argue, didn't linger, because they all knew this storm wasn't finished yet. By morning, nothing had changed. The wind still pressed, the snow still fell, the valley gone, replaced by something white and endless. And inside the house, two people who had arrived as strangers were no longer standing on opposite sides of the same life. They had already crossed something, not spoken, not agreed, but earned, and neither of them was pretending otherwise anymore. By the second day, the storm stopped being an event. It became a condition. Something the land had decided and would not explain. The wind no longer came in bursts. It stayed. A constant pressure against the walls, finding every seam in the house, testing it the way the wolves had tested the fence. Ethan checked the barn twice before noon. Cattle secure, feed holding. No losses. That mattered. Everything else could wait. Inside the house, Lynn did not sit idle. She moved through the rooms quietly, not like a guest, but like someone learning the shape of a place. A torn curtain in the parlor, mended. Kitchen shelves, rearranged, cleaned, made usable. A pot on the stove, something warm, steady, filling the air with a kind of comfort the house hadn't known in years. Ethan noticed all of it, didn't comment. But he noticed. He sat at the table with a piece of leather in his hands, a bridle that didn't need repairing, worked it anyway. Not because it needed fixing, because it gave him something to do that didn't involve watching her. He still watched, from the edge of his vision, the way she measured things, the way she didn't rush, the way nothing she did felt temporary. By afternoon, the light outside had gone flat, gray, endless, the kind of light that erased distance. The fire in the parlor became the center of everything. They sat on opposite sides of it, Ethan in his usual chair, Lynn on the small settee, a piece of mending in her hands. The silence between them was no longer careful. It was waiting. "For something?" she asked suddenly. Ethan looked up. "For what?" She met his eyes. "For the part where we stop pretending this is just work." Direct. No softening. Ethan leaned back slightly, studied her. You want that part now? I think it's already here. The fire cracked between them. Outside, the storm pressed harder, as if listening. Why did you answer it? He asked. The question came before he decided to say it. Lynn's hands stilled on the fabric. Not surprised. She had expected it. I needed a place where no one knew me, she said. Not fast, not hesitant. Measured. A place where what I was before didn't decide what I could be next. Ethan held her gaze. There was more. He could hear it. He didn't ask. She noticed that too. My sister, she added after a moment. That was the part she chose to give. She's sick. The words settled differently. He nodded once, not pushing. I needed the money, she continued. And the advertisement, she glanced at him briefly. It sounded honest. Ethan let that sit, turned it over quietly. Honest. Not kind, not warm, but real. Was it? She asked. He looked at the fire, then back at her. Yes. And no. That made her tilt her head slightly. Which is it? Ethan exhaled slowly. I wrote what a person would need to survive out here. I didn't write what it costs. That landed. She understood. He could see it. And what does it cost? She asked quietly. Ethan didn't answer right away, because that answer wasn't simple. Time, he said finally. Silence. Parts of yourself you don't get back. The fire shifted, a log collapsing inward. Outside, the wind howled low, like something settling deeper into the land. Lynn looked down at the fabric in her hands, then back up at him. You stayed anyway? Yes. Why? Ethan didn't look away this time, because leaving didn't feel like a better option, just a different kind of empty. That was the first real truth between them. Not about work, not about arrangement. About what it meant to stay when staying was hard. The silence that followed wasn't empty. It held something now. Understanding. Night came early. The storm didn't ease, didn't shift, but something else did. Sometime after dark, Ethan came down for water. The house was quiet, fire low, lamp still lit in the kitchen. She was sitting at the table, a letter open in front of her. He stopped on the last step, didn't mean to, but he saw her face, unprotected, heavy with something she hadn't shown him yet. Not tears, something deeper than that. He stepped back, board creaked under his boot. She looked up immediately. The letter folded in one motion, controlled again. I didn't mean to intrude, he said. It's all right. Her voice was steady, but her hands, still resting on the folded letter, holding it in place. He should have left, gone back upstairs, given her space. He didn't. Instead, he crossed the room, poured 2 cups, set one in front of her, then sat down. You don't have to tell me, he said. But I'm not going anywhere either. Outside, the storm pressed against the glass. Inside, just lamplight, and a table between them. Lynn looked at the cup, then at him. Something shifted again. Not fully, not all at once, but enough. She unfolded the letter, not to show him, to stop holding it alone. And in that moment, the storm outside the house was no longer the only thing closing in. Something else had started, something quieter, but harder to walk away from. The third night broke differently. Not louder, heavier, like the storm had settled into the bones of the valley and decided to stay there. The wind no longer howled. It pressed, low, constant, relentless. Inside the house, the fire burned steady, not bright, not weak, just enough to hold the dark back. Ethan hadn't slept much, not because of the storm, because of what had changed inside the house. A letter on a table, a truth shared without being forced, and a silence that now meant something. He came downstairs before dawn, boots quiet on the wood. The kitchen was already lit. She was there. Of course she was. Lynn stood by the stove, sleeves rolled, moving through the space like she'd always belonged there. No hesitation, no asking, just presence. Ethan stopped in the doorway, watched for a moment longer than necessary. "You don't sleep much," he said. She didn't turn immediately. "Not when there's work." He stepped inside. Neither of them mentioned the night before, not the letter, not what it carried. Some things needed time to settle. A sharp sound cut through the morning, distant, muted by snow, but wrong. Ethan froze, head tilted slightly, listening. There it was again. A crack. Not wood. Not wind. Gunfire. Far off, but real. Lynn looked up now. "You heard it?" "Yes." They didn't speak for a second, because both of them understood. Storms didn't bring gunfire. People did. Ethan moved for his coat immediately, rifle already in his hands. "Stay inside," he said. "I won't." Same as before, same tone, same decision. He didn't argue, didn't have time for it. "Then stay behind me." They stepped out into the storm together. The world was white, blinding, sound swallowed by snow and distance. But something had broken the stillness, and that meant trouble had found its way here, anyway. They moved toward the barn, slow, careful, every step measured. Caleb met them halfway, breathing hard, face tight. "Tracks," he said. 3 men came up from the south ridge. Ethan's jaw tightened. They get close? Close enough. That was all it took. These weren't travelers. They were looking for something, or someone. "Stay inside," Ethan told Caleb. "Keep the animals quiet." Caleb nodded, already turning. He knew better than to argue. Ethan turned back toward the ridge. Snow cut visibility down to shapes and shadows. But there, movement. 3 figures, riding slow, confident, like they believed the storm worked in their favor. Lynn stepped closer behind him, not touching, just there. "You know them?" she asked. Ethan didn't answer right away, because he did. Men who drifted between towns, took what winter made vulnerable. Not outlaws worth remembering, but dangerous all the same. "They won't pass through," he said quietly. "They'll test. And if they see weakness..." He didn't finish. Didn't need to. The riders stopped at the edge of the property. Didn't call out. Didn't rush. Just waited, watching. Ethan stepped forward, just enough to be seen, rifle low, but ready. The lead rider tilted his head slightly, a slow grin visible even through the snow. "Didn't expect company out here," he called. Voice carried just enough, mocking. Ethan didn't respond, didn't move. Let them see him. Let them measure. One of the men shifted in the saddle, eyes drifting past Ethan, toward the house, toward Lynn. That was the moment everything changed. Not the storm, not the danger. The line. Ethan stepped slightly to the side, blocking the view. "You're not stopping here," he said. Simple, flat, Final. The lead writer chuckled. Storm like this? He said. Might be we don't have much choice. Ethan held his ground. You do. Ride. The wind cut between them, snow swirling, time stretching. Behind him he could feel Lynn, not afraid, not retreating. Standing. The riders exchanged a glance, silent, calculating, deciding whether this place was worth pushing. The lead man shifted his reins. For a second, it looked like he might turn. Then, his eyes flicked once more toward the house, toward what was inside it. And Ethan knew this wasn't over. Not yet. The rider gave a small nod to the others. All right, he said. For now. They turned, slowly, disappearing into the white. Gone. But not gone. Ethan didn't lower his rifle, not immediately, because men like that came back. When the storm was worse, when the guard was lower, when something worth taking stayed in one place. Behind him, Lynn spoke, quiet, steady. They weren't just passing through. No, they saw this place. Yes. And they'll come back. Ethan turned to look at her, snow catching in her hair again, same as the first night, but something had changed. She wasn't just someone who arrived anymore. She was part of what they would defend. If they do, he said, we'll be ready. The storm pressed around them, the valley silent again, but not empty, not safe. Not anymore. And for the first time, this wasn't just about surviving winter. It was about holding on to something that had started to matter, something neither of them was willing to lose. They came back before dawn. Not during the storm. After it. The valley had gone still overnight, that strange, hollow quiet that follows something violent. Snow lay deep and untouched, sky pale, cold, sharper now that the wind had dropped. That was when men like them moved, when sound carried, when tracks told stories, when they thought no one would be ready. Ethan was already awake. He hadn't slept. Not really. Boots on, rifle within reach. Waiting. He heard the horses first, muted, careful. Then, the soft crunch of steps outside the barn. He moved before the second sound came. Down the stairs, through the kitchen. Lynn was already there, coat on, eyes clear. Ready. You heard them. Yes. No more words, no need. They stepped outside together. The cold was clean now, sharp enough to wake every nerve. Tracks cut through the snow, fresh. 3 men, closer than before. Ethan motioned toward the side of the barn. They moved along it, staying low, using shadow and structure. Not running, not hiding, positioning. A voice came from the other side, low, casual. They've got stock, fence line strong, might be worth it. Another voice answered. And the woman. That settled it. Not survival, not weather. Choice. Ethan stepped around the corner, rifle raised. Not worth it, he said. The 3 men turned, surprised, but not unprepared. They had expected resistance, just not this kind. You again, the lead man said. He smiled, like nothing here belonged to anyone yet. Storm's over, he added. Now we can talk proper. Ethan didn't move, didn't lower the rifle. There's nothing to talk about. Everything's worth talking about, the man replied. His eyes shifted, past Ethan, toward Lynn, who had stepped into view behind him. And again, Ethan moved, just enough to block. Final. The man's smile faded slightly. "Careful," he said. "You're outnumbered." Ethan's voice stayed level. "Not where it counts." Behind him, Lynn didn't speak, didn't step back. She stood. That was enough. The tension stretched, thin, sharp. Then the first shot. Fast, close. Ethan moved with it, not away, but forward, returning fire. The valley snapped alive with sound. Gunfire cracked against wood and snow, echoes bouncing off the ridge. One man dropped. The second fired wild, caught off balance. Lynn moved then, not toward safety, toward control. She grabbed the loose gate chain, swung it hard, metal striking the man's wrist as he raised his rifle again. The shot went wide. Ethan finished it. 2 down. The third hesitated. That was all it took. Ethan stepped closer. Not rushing, not frantic. Certain. "Ride," he said. "Ride," he said. The man looked between them, the rifle in Ethan's hands, the steadiness in Lynn's stance, and understood something too late. This place was no longer unguarded. He backed up, mounted fast, turned, gone. Silence followed. Real silence this time. Not the storm, not the waiting. After. Ethan lowered his rifle slowly, chest steady, not shaking. Behind him, Lynn exhaled. Just once, then still again. Alive. Standing. "They won't come back," she said quietly. Ethan nodded. "No. They won't." Because now, they knew. This wasn't a place to take. It was a place that held. By mid-morning, the valley had begun to breathe again. Sunlight broke through the clouds, soft, pale, snow reflecting it back in quiet brilliance. Ethan checked the fences, the herd, Caleb, all standing, all intact. When he came back to the house, the door was open, warmth spilling out, the smell of coffee, something baking. Life. He stopped at the threshold, just for a second, because something in him recognized it. Not as temporary, not as arrangement. Inside, Lynn moved through the kitchen. Same steady rhythm, same quiet presence, but not a stranger anymore, not passing through. He stepped inside, closed the door behind him, snow melting from his coat, the fire already burning. Holding. He sat at the table. She set a cup in front of him. Didn't ask, didn't need to. Ethan looked at the cup, then at her. Something settled, clear now. "I didn't write it right," he said. She paused. "What?" "The advertisement." He held her gaze. "I wrote what a person would need to survive here, but not what it takes to stay." Lynn watched him, waiting, not pushing. "I don't need help anymore," he said. "I need you." The words stayed between them, not rushed, not softened. Real. Lynn didn't answer immediately. She set the cloth in her hands down, walked across the kitchen, sat across from him, the way she did when something mattered. "I didn't come here for that," she said quietly. "I know." "But you stayed," he replied, "and that means something." She looked at him, really looked this time. No distance, no guard. "It does," she said. The smallest shift, but enough. Outside, the valley stretched wide and still, the storm gone, tracks already fading. Nothing left of what had tried to take this place. Inside, the fire burned steady, the table set. Two people sitting across from each other, not as strangers, not as arrangement, but as something chosen, something built in cold, in work, in the kind of moments that don't leave room for pretending. Ethan Kross had written 9 lines in a newspaper, and somewhere between a storm and a fight he didn't walk away from, he had gotten something back he hadn't known how to ask for. A reason to stay. And this time, he didn't let it go.